What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Manchester United won, Southampton won, or Southampton won, Manchester United won. However you want to say it, it's a draw. It's the first drop points of the season, and I don't mean to say that in a negative point of view. I don't mean to be one of those people that's saying, you know, points dropped and, oh, we're terrible and all this kind of stuff. But in reality, it's dropped points. That's the problem here. We could look at it from a positive point of view. And we could say, wow, Manchester United, you know, they've equaled the record, right? That's what I've seen people saying on Sky Sports. They've equaled the record of, was it the longest unbeaten away Premier League record? Well done. Well done. Great. Yes, we broke some record. But at the end of the day, it's dropped points. It's points dropped. Ultimately, today, overall, wasn't good enough. And I don't want to be that person that's negative. I don't want to be that person that's here on the channel that rants and raves after games, because I don't think that's what we do here. We like to be objective, we like to be honest, we like to see things, critique them. Where did it go wrong? Why did it go wrong? Who didn't play well? Who did play well? All that kind of stuff. But today, ultimately, when you come out of this game, second game of the season, St. Mary's, I know it's the away game, but look, it wasn't good enough today. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to blame the manager. I'm not going to be one of those people that says, Ollie out, oh, terrible, we need to get rid of him. I think there are many facets as to why we dropped points today. And I think the biggest disappointment from myself, and we will get into the nitty-gritty of the game, we will get into individual performances, tactics, lineups, a lack of energy, it felt like in certain cases. The biggest disappointment to me today is that we have, at the beginning of this season, I mentioned it in the match preview, we have a great run of games. Really, the start of this season for us is so good. You couldn't really ask for a better start of the season in terms of opponents. Yeah, you got some difficult games. Going away to St. Mary's when they haven't had a crowd in 18 months, of course that's tough. Going away to Wolves next week, of course that's tough. If we've got to go away to West Ham. But if you're going to compete, if you're going to challenge, if you're going to actually try and win things, which is what Manchester United need to do, irrespective of if we have a defensive midfielder or another right back that comes in or whatever, if you're going to compete, you need to beat Southampton away. No disrespect to any Saints fans that are watching, but that's the fundamentals here. Now, Southampton themselves, they were fine. They were fine. I don't think they were great. But Manchester United's issue today is that we were really poor. For periods of that game, we were passengers. It's game management. And we come back to this, and I do sympathise with Solskjaer here. I do sympathise with Solskjaer, because he's mentioned it. He's pointed it out time and time again in the press conferences here. Game management, starting the game off right. Don't let the game slip away from you. Don't make it too difficult for yourselves. We mentioned it in the preview. Ollie Solskjaer mentioned it in the press conference. We can't afford to keep going 1-0 down away from home because the fans are back now. It makes it more difficult to get the game back. Maybe last season, if we go 1-0 down in an empty St. Mary's, we come back and win 2-1 because the pressure builds up. But that didn't happen today. With the crowd, the game gets disjointed and your rhythm dissipates in periods of times, and that's what happened today. Not taking opportunities, not wanting it enough. Where was the desire? Where was the desire today? No ruthlessness. There were points of the game where you could argue that Southampton were the better sides at periods of this game today. Absolutely. Fundamentally, and I think today's great evidence of this, there are still players in that side that will go missing in certain games or just aren't up to it. They're just not at the quality level to be consistently playing a 7, 8, 9, or 9 out of 10 every week is difficult, but a 7 or 8 out of 10 every week, that's what you need to win things. And there are players that went missing today. Southampton deserved a point because ultimately they wanted it. They played for it, they had desire. We managed that game badly. And we didn't deserve to win because of it. Harsh reality. I mentioned it in the preview. I mentioned it several times talking about on the channel. I said about going on a run. I said about setting the pace. I mentioned the games that we had to kick off this season. I mentioned the games that we had: Leeds at home, Southampton away, Wolves away, West Ham away, Newcastle at home. Those kind of games are winnable. And if you look at the Premier League over the course of the last 5 years or so, whether it's Man City, whether it's Liverpool, whether it's Chelsea, it's all about going on a run. Those teams that have the ability to go on a run, a winning run, not just an unbeaten run, but a winning run, consistently getting victories, they're the ones that win titles. Because by the time that run comes to an end, you've just outrun everyone and they can't catch up anymore. I said about setting pace. I said about momentum. And simply put, was not good enough at times today. And the real thing that stood out to me was just at times it was amateur. just amateur on the ball. From a technical point of view, some of the passing today was just horrific. Absolutely horrific. Now, we are going to get into you guys' opinions, so be sure to, I'll check out the free seats in a second. Of course, you can contribute with the super chat as well. Be sure to smash a like on the video, subscribe as well. We're going to have fan cans coming up today too. Of course, Flex is at St. Mary's, so he'll be outside the ground getting opinions, so be sure to stay tuned for that because they're going to be uploaded to the channel as well. I'll let you know once they've been uploaded to the channel. We're probably going to go for about half an hour or so. We're not going to overrun too much. Obviously, there's a huge game when it comes to Arsenal and Chelsea as well. But I think, there has been lots of discussion. I want to talk about Fred. I do want to talk about Fred, and we will get into sort of nitty-gritty points of the game. But let's be honest here. The narrative about us needing a defence midfielder, we really need a defence midfielder. Manchester United, the missing piece of the puzzle, right, is a defensive midfielder. Whether it's Ruben Neves, Camavinga, Saul Niguez, Declan Rice, whoever it may be, there's this narrative right now, isn't it, that we need a defence midfielder. That today was evidence of it. Because Fred, if we get a defensive midfielder, Fred is never playing again. Because today, look, I praised Fred last week. I did. I praised Fred last week and I said, you know what? He does bring energy. Solskjaer obviously trusts him. He brings passion. But today, look, you know what you're going to get with Fred? Technically on the ball, is he that kind of player? No. Technically on the ball, he's terrible. Today's evidence of that. But even Fred at his regular game, of breaking up the play, getting tackles in, he couldn't even do that today. And the biggest eye-opener is how much we miss Scott McTominay. To be honest with you, I know a lot of people don't like Scott McTominay. I know a lot of people say that Scott McTominay's average or he's not good enough for the club. But today was evidence of someone like Scott McTominay would have been far better than a Fred. Far better than a Fred. Because you couldn't do much worse, frankly, than Fred today. I think someone like Cavani was a huge miss as well. I know that Anthony Martial got substituted off. And Sancho came on and went out wide right. Greenwood went up front. I did think we looked more dangerous when that happened. Martial, look, I know people will say that Martial didn't have service today, and maybe he didn't. He didn't have a lot of service, but Mason Greenwood, when he was playing up front, was the perfect example of the guy didn't have a lot of service, but he made it happen anyway. He started to come deep. He started to ask for the ball. He started to split the centre-backs. He started to drift into the channels. That centre-forward play, that's making things happen. You can't always just rely on service of, I'm going to stand between the two centre-backs. You're going to have to give me the ball, or if you don't give me the ball, I just won't do anything. And that was the case with Martial today. Yes, he didn't have a lot of service. I get that. But still, he didn't have enough initiative today for me. And I said before the game, when it came to Martial starting, that if I'm Greenwood, I would be looking at it going, damn, I played pretty well last week. I was setting up goals. I was contributing towards the assist that Pogba got. I scored an excellent goal. Greenwood scored again today, even though he was wide right at the time. I would be saying, I should be starting up front. What did that other guy do? Nothing. Now, in fairness, I think a game like today was screaming out for someone like a Cavani. There's no doubt about that. I think if Cavani was, on the bench, he would have probably changed the game. But the biggest standouts in terms of being poor was Fred. I thought he was awful today. And just the biggest thing was just the passing and technical ability. The passing and technical ability today of Manchester United was really poor. Really, really poor at times. And like I said, manage the game better. That's what Solskjaer said. Manage the game better. Take your chances early. Yes, there's a capacity crowd for the first time at St. Mary's today. They're going to be rah, rah, rah. They're going to be behind the team. They're going to be making noise. It's going to be a bit of a pressure cauldron. All that kind of stuff, right? So what do you do to silence that crowd? Score early. Press early. Energy early. Take your chances early. And we had chances early. That's what Ollie wanted. He said it in the press conference. Silence the crowd. Take your chances early. And then you can dictate the game. Then you can control the game. He said it in the press conference. And we had that. That first set piece, was it a free kick? Bruno whips it in. Lindelof manages to somehow get out of the way of the ball instead of head it. And then Martial, I think, or Maguire gets in the way of I think it's Martial or Pogba or whatever. How it doesn't go in, it's not over the line. Obviously, goal line technology said it wasn't over the line. But we should score. And if we score that, the game just changes like that. Not just because of a goal, but because the crowd go quiet. Because, look, Southampton didn't have a good season last season. At points of time last season, they were looking over their shoulder thinking they were going to get relegated. If they go 1-0 down to Manchester United in the first couple of minutes, Then they're going, here we go, this is going to be a long season. And then you just start rattling goals in. You have to take those chances. They're the kind of chances that games hinge on. It's like Solskjaer said, especially in away games. Especially in away games. Manage the game. And we had a couple of chances after that. Another set piece. Pogba had a chance. Shaw free kick. Pogba half chance. Slow to react. Pogba had a free header. Once again, a Shaw free kick. That Eric Ramsey, the new coach, has come in and worked on set pieces. He's earning his money, certainly, because one of the positives, I guess, coming out of today is that actually we looked very threatening on set pieces. The frustrating thing is about looking threatening on set pieces is that we didn't score any, and we should have. I want to shout out Paul Pogba, though. I thought that Paul Pogba arguably was man of the match today for us. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation about his future. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation about, is he going to re-sign the contract? He's not leaving Manchester United in this transfer window. That's confirmed at this point. But what's his future look like? Is he going to stay with Manchester United? Is he going to sign the new deal at the end of the season? I think he continued his form, to be honest with you, from last week. He got another assist. Even before the assist, Pogba's passing was sensational. Absolutely sensational. His range of passing, his through balls to Bruno, his interchange with Bruno. I was watching the game and it felt like every time Pogba got on the ball, you just sort of went, man, give the guy what he wants. Give him the money. Give him the money because, one, we don't have players on our side that have the ability to do what Pogba does. I think Bruno and Pogba are just different players at this point. Bruno's far more final third, whereas Pogba's a threat, obviously, but Pogba's range of passing through balls is just something else. Obviously, we don't have anyone else in our team that is able to do that. But even out there, just on the market, who else is out there that can do some of the things that he can do? And then so you have Pogba that has this incredible range of passing, was just sensational. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have Fred, who, on games like today, is stealing a living as a professional footballer. Because Fred's technical ability, I mentioned it in the match viewer KG, Fred's technical ability is that of a comatose badger. Not very good, guys. His passing was horrendous. How many times did he give the ball away today? How many times? And I get it, he's not the most technical player in the world, but he's got energy and he can tackle and he gets stuck in. But he didn't even do that today. You know, there was one point where they had a counter-attack. He refused to do just a tactical foul. He didn't even do that. A game like today, and I'm not one of those people that's rah-rah, play Donny van de Beek, but a game like today was screaming for a Donny van de Beek. Have someone in the middle of the park that's got a bit of technical ability, can actually put their foot on the ball, find a pass, even if it's just side-to-side stuff, even if it's just to link up the play, the pivot, as everyone likes to say, even if it's just that. The game was screaming out for that today. Screaming out for that. I understand Southampton have a press, and because of that intense press that they have, you need to have someone that can move the ball quickly. And they're not going to be concerned if they're under pressure on the ball. That's Donny van de Beek. Fred isn't that guy because he can't pass the ball to a brick wall behind me. He'd miss that. And after 25 minutes of starting relatively well, we made the game difficult for ourselves. Started giving the ball away, letting them back in the game. The crowd got on their side. They go 1-0 up. Look, the situation was Bruno had the ball. We're messing around with it outside the box. Bruno gets tackled. He says it's a foul. Che Adam has a shot. It deflected in off Fred. Bruno was moaning and whinging to the referee. It's never a foul. It's never a foul in a million years. Bruno can get angry. Bruno can shout at the referee. It's never a foul. The goal, just to top it off in terms of Fred's performance today, it deflected in off Fred. I know I saw some people were saying they think De Gea should do better. I disagree. It deflected in. That whole just scenario around that goal needs to be managed better. Just bad passing. Just so sloppy, so lethargic. You know they're going to press you. That's what they do. That's Hasenhüttl's game. They press you. So move the ball around quickly. Move the ball around quickly. Beat the press. Because once you beat the press, you're in. We had a couple of times that earlier today. Once you beat it, Pogba, bang, he's in. But it was just sloppy passing. We let him back in the game. And that was coming as well because we made that same mistake 3 or 4 times. I think it was Wan-Bissaka. I think it was Lindelof or Maguire giving the ball away around the edge of the box. And then what happens? They go and score. Manage the game better. Manage the game better. So we get into the second half. Started poorly, actually. Again, real lack of energy in that second half. Greenwood makes it 1-1. It's the high point of the game, to be honest with you. It's just, once again, Pogba-Bruno link-up. It was the same as they were doing last week. You know, Pogba and Bruno have that kind of connection. It's that little link-up. Pogba once again assist. I was thinking with Graham Souness, because he's on Sky today, Graham Souness, who's just a miserable man at this point. I'm sure he'll have something to say. I haven't seen it because I've been preparing for the Max reaction. But I'm sure he'll have something to say about Pogba. He got 1 assist. Well, he's 100 million. He should get 3 more. Oh, shut up, Graham Souness. You decrepit old snake fart. Honestly. But Greenwood scores. Again, it's a Pogba-Bruno link-up. Pogba pits it to Greenwood. Greenwood gets the shot off, and that's all he can do. Keeper should save it. McCarthy in goal. Absolutely should save it. There's no doubt about it. Keeper should do better, but I don't care. 60 minutes, Martial comes off. Sancho came on. Fairness, Sancho, I mean, I don't think he really affected the game that much, if at all. I suppose it is kind of difficult from a Sancho point of view because Wan-Bissaka really didn't have his best game today. Really didn't. He needs to improve that link-up down the right-hand side. You get there by playing games, obviously, but Wan-Bissaka, to me, I mean, there were even points of the game today where I thought, you know what, maybe bring Dallo on, because Wan-Bissaka in certain points was having one. There was one point where he just did such a wayward pass, and again, it sort of summed it up. It summed it up of just real lazy passing or just poor passing, or you're meant to be elite level footballers. You're meant to be elite level Premier League players getting a lot of money, and the technical ability was just not there today. And like I said, when it comes to Anthony Martial, I understand that maybe he didn't have the best service in the world today. That's justifiable, but I don't think... I'm not going to be one of those people that says, well, look at his face. He doesn't have energy or passion. That's just how he looks like. For me, Martial, he just didn't do enough. He just did not do enough today. And when I say do enough, Mason Greenwood was a great example of what to do when you're in that centre-forward position. If the ball's not being fed into you and you're not getting service, take it upon yourself. Have a bit of initiative. Go, right, I'm going to go find the ball. Or, you know what, I'm going to split the centre-backs. Or I'm going to start running into the channels. Or I'm just going to start moving around just to try and disrupt things. Because if you're just staying static and you're not moving, you're just between the two centre-backs, that is so easy for them. Because they'll just go on then. Go on then, try and pass it to him. We'll just cut you off every single time. And once, you know, and it didn't look great for Martial because once he went off, we did look more dangerous. We looked like we had a greater threat. Absolutely. Pogba started drifting past players, hit it wide. Again, I thought he was our best player on the pitch there. I thought he was superb. And you could feel it. Once we scored, we'd silenced the crowd a little bit for the second. We got that momentum back. Greenwood gets a header, just goes over. If anything, Fred's cross was actually quite good. It's the only thing redeemable that he did today. But Greenwood became a striker, and instantly we look more threatening. We'll check out the free seats, because I've just been going on a bit of a rampage here. Baps Tap says Wan-Bissaka was poor. Steffi says, I didn't understand anything about our game today. A lot of people saying that Ollie's selection was wrong today. Look, I think, to be honest with you, a lot of people saying that Ollie was clueless, all that kind of stuff. The Varane decision not to start Varane, I would have probably started him, to be honest with you, but I can understand that rationale. He has only had 5 days. The Sancho one, I did not get. I'll be honest with you. I did not understand the Sancho one. He has had 2 weeks of training. He had minutes last week. He had minutes against Burnley. He has to start next week. Martial, for me, goes back on the bench. Martial starting up front was a big call today, and I don't know if it's a case of Ollie getting it wrong. I mean, we didn't win the game, so maybe he did get it wrong, but I think it's a case of Martial just not living up to what Ollie thought he was going to. And if I'm Ollie, I'm saying, look, last time I played you up front, I played you for 60 minutes, and you weren't good enough. You didn't do enough. Your positioning wasn't great. Your forward play wasn't great. You weren't linking up the play. You know, you were expecting balls to your feet or 3 balls every time, and it's not as simple as that. So I don't know if that one's completely on Ollie, but he picks the team. The Fred and Matic one, again, maybe I'm not going to be one of those people that would say, oh, you selected Fred and Matic, you got it wrong. Where I do think he got it wrong today was that he didn't react quick enough. He should have seen at halftime, Fred is having one, and the game needs a more technical player. A game needs a Donny van der Beek. If you are Donny van der Beek, once again, you must be sitting on the bench and thinking, I am not going to play. I didn't play last season. Okay, when do we stop using the excuse of, well, Van der Beek, he's still settling in? Because it's not. There's nothing about settling in anymore. Ollie just obviously doesn't trust him. He doesn't rate him. He doesn't trust him. Whatever it may be, he doesn't like Donny van der Beek. Now, if anything, we're fortunate to get out of the game with a draw because, of course, Armstrong should score. Maguire, I don't know what he was doing today. At points today, Maguire did look shaky. The quicker Varane comes in and is his centre-back partner is the better. Get that partnership going. Lindelof looked like Victor Lindelof today. I'm not even disappointed with Lindelof because you know his levels. We know what he's going to do. He might play well or he might be a calamity waiting to happen. But Maguire did, I thought, look shaky at points today. I don't know what he's doing on the ball. Dilly-dallying on the ball. Gives it away. Armstrong's in one-on-one. David De Gea, great save. Now, I think it's a great save. I think Armstrong should score. He should bury it. He should do better. Even as a goalkeeper, as someone that's been in those situations one-on-one, the keeper should never save it. The keeper should never save it. That should be 2-1 and Armstrong should score. De Gea does all that he can do and he makes the save, so credit to him. It was a great save, but what was Maguire doing? I didn't think De Gea, to be honest, had his best game. I thought from set pieces with his punches and from a couple of free kicks, he looked very shaky. Very, very shaky. He looked very afraid of James Ward-Prowse, I think, on several occasions. He knew his set-piece delivery was good, and he looked terrified because of it. But we got off on one there, and look, De Gea makes a great save, so credit to him. Fred came off in the end for McTominay, but by that point, the game... McTominay coming on at that point for Fred, it's like for like, and it's not going to change the game. If McTominay had started and he was carrying a knock, so we understand why he didn't start, but if McTominay starts the game, maybe it is a bit different, because I think McTominay on the ball is a far better player than Fred is. Now, Donny van der Beek is better than both of them in terms of technical ability, but Solskjaer has his way of how he likes to play. And this game, if you want to use it as a case study of we can get one more player in this transfer window, we can get one more player in this transfer window, who is it? What position is it going to be? And the case study looking at this game would be it has to be a defensive midfielder. Because it's these kind of games where you need someone that can break the play up, can put a tackle in, but also has the technical ability to pass the ball forward, to see a pass, to up the tempo, to regulate the tempo, to beat a press by seeing a through ball. That's what we need and we don't have. And the players that we do have that are trying to do that, like a Fred, aren't good enough. Or they go missing in games like today. Because he was a passenger. We might as well have played for 10 men at points today. The amount of times he gave the ball away. And it was just, that's what stood out to me the most. It was the passing was just poor. The passing was just really, really poor. And Fred and Wan-Bissaka, I think, really stood out as two that just on the ball today went up to it. Really went up to it. And to be honest, as the game went on, as we got into the last 10, 15 minutes or so, Southampton probably looked more like scoring, to be honest with you. Lingard came on for Matic at the end, but by that point, it was inconsequential. The game was over. I think Cavani would have been needed today. And just for periods of the game today, look, we just weren't good enough. That end of. For periods of the game today, ultimately, we just weren't good enough. And that's what came up to us. Technical ability. Again, just passion, fight. It wasn't there. It just wasn't there today. Now, let's take a look at the free seats to see what you guys are saying. I don't know why I'm really zoomed out. I can barely read. There you go. Ryan says Basuma, obviously referring to the defensive midfielder that we should get in. Sanguine says Maguire's passing was terrible in the latter stages of the second half. Maguire, like I said, I think was having one, to say the least today. Really wasn't up to snuff today. Commie Red says, one player isn't resolving this. It's bigger than the player. How they execute on the ball lacks depth. I think that's the thing that stood out to me the most. And I think everyone's almost a bit in agreement here, is that technically, on the ball today, we just weren't good enough. That's it. If we had legitimate ball players, especially in those sort of deeper roles, like Matic and Fred were playing in today, I think we would have won that game. But it was just playing out from the back's fine, but playing out from the back doesn't work when 2 out of the 4 times that you're playing out from the back, you give it straight to the opposition team or you kick it out for a throw-in. That's the problem there. That's the issue. Wan-Bissaka, every time he got the ball, we were playing out from the back. He looked hesitant. He looked like he was confused or he didn't know what he was going to do. Or he was worried and it went out for touch or he passed it to an opposition player. Even Maguire was the same. Super chat from Devin Smith says, this game showed that Ollie hasn't learned from last year. He thinks every game is wide open. Lingard and McTominay against low block made no sense. The substitutions were strange. I'll give you that. I agreed with the substitution of Sancho on for Martial and Greenwood starting up front. I think that was right. The like-for-like stuff, it's not going to change the game. It's not going to change the game. And the point of bringing Lingard on for Matic, the game was over at that point. It's too late. That's a fine substitution to make if it's 70 minutes, 75 minutes. Give them 15 minutes to affect the game. Whether it's like 5 minutes or a couple minutes left, it's pointless. There's no point at that point. You're not going to change the game, are we? And that's the problem. VK says, we simply didn't match with energy and quick passing. That's it. That's it. Southampton wanted that game, not more than United because it was a draw, but Southampton wanted that today. Southampton had that passion. Southampton had that drive. We know they play with energy, and we didn't match it. That's the issue. Nicky says, how does Van der Beek not get game time? Well, I think he's probably thinking that himself, to be honest with you. He's probably thinking, how on earth what do I do? Where do I go from here? What am I supposed to do, right? That's what he was probably thinking at this point. He's thinking, what am I going to do? How do I even get onto the pitch? How do I do whatever? So I think he would probably be frustrated, certainly. And I wouldn't blame him. But next week, we've got Wolves away. We'll wrap this up in a second because the Arsenal game's just about to start. So I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time. But I think this time next week, I would hope to see a far more energetic performance. I would hope to see Sancho start. I would hope to see Varane start. And I want to see energy and I want to see passion. And obviously, I haven't been able to see Ollie's comments on what happened or didn't happen today. But I think he'll talk about game management. I think he'll say, look, I mentioned it in the press conferences. We can't afford to go 1-0 down. We can't afford to get all these points from losing positions again because it's different, because fans are back. We didn't manage the game properly, and technically, on the ball, ultimately, we weren't good enough. If we were good enough, we would have won the game today. We weren't good enough. And it's points dropped. I know it's second game, and I know we shouldn't get so angry and rant and rave and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, weren't good enough. It's points drop. If we want to compete, if we want to actually, really challenge for things, you have to beat Southampton away from home. And we didn't do that today. That's the biggest problem. But look, guys, I think fan cams are going to be up in the next few minutes or so. I was going to get a message from Josh when they start to go up, but they'll be going up in the next few minutes or so. As I mentioned, Flex is outside St. Mary's as we speak, talking to the United away fans. So be sure to check that out on the channel. Be sure to smash a like on this video and subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. If you subscribe, you'll see every fan cam that comes up later on this evening. So you'll hear the reaction of those that were inside the ground as well. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in today. Southampton won, Manchester United won. On to the next game, I guess.